What's up, everybody? This is Colin from Homestead Homestead. I hope you're all well. I want to talk to you folks about some different uses of salt and also give you some tips about salt. This is probably one of the most important videos we have ever posted. Please watch the whole video because I don't want you to miss anything. I might talk about some things you never knew. I might give you some great reminders of things you forgot about, okay? Salt is very important for everybody. Everybody needs it, okay, as far as health and wellness goes. And there's so many uses for everybody in everyday cooking, everyday living, homesteaders specifically, preppers specifically. It's very, very important. I'm going to talk to you about different types of salt that I like, that I prefer, okay? I'm going to talk about a lot of different things. So hang out, watch the full video. I don't want you to miss anything, okay? Getting right into it. Number one, salt is very important for health and wellness. Obviously, water is very important. When you drink a lot of water, that's great. But the problem is a lot of people drink water, but they don't have enough electrolytes to hold that water in their bodies and put the water where their bodies need it, okay? You can drink a lot of water, and water is a solvent. So essentially what it's going to do is dissolve things in your body, good things and bad things, things you don't want in your body, and flush them out. So if you find yourself drinking a lot of water and you just feel dehydrated, you're constantly thirsty, the problem is probably not your water intake, it's that you're not getting enough salt. So if you drink Gatorade and Powerade, which are not really good for you because they have a garbage form or forms of sugar in them, okay? What they have is a couple of electrolytes or a few electrolytes, okay? If you want to really get the electrolytes, the minerals, and the trace minerals your bodies need, you need a high-quality salt or high-quality salts, okay? Here's a tip for you. Coconut water is much better for hydration and overall health and wellness than Powerade or Gatorade or anything like that, okay? Coconut water has 5 different electrolytes. Very, very good. Very, very good. Much better than the other garbage, okay? So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take some Celtic salt, and I will take, I like the, here's the Celtic salt, for example, one type of it. This is the fine grain, but I actually want the coarse grain. This stuff I like because it's less processed. I like this even better than the fine grain salt. And if I want to get some electrolytes in my body, I'll take a little pinch of this, put it on my mouth, maybe a little under my tongue, let it dissolve, and I'll just chase it with some water. Now, folks, I am not a doctor, okay? But I've done a lot of research, and I have been immersed in health and wellness for most of my life. So I know a thing or two about a thing or two. A lot of doctors, not all, will just say, salt is bad, too much salt, that's not good, hypertension, whatever they say, okay? Your body needs salt. So it's not necessarily the salt that's the problem, too much salt. It's because you're not drinking enough water with it or you're having too many carbohydrates or whatever. There's a lot of other problems that salt gets the blame for. So salt wrongly gets blamed for a lot of problems when your body needs them. It's important for joint lubrication, for your organs to function properly, and again, to be hydrated. Okay, hydration is super important. So I like different types of salt. They have different types of purposes, but just going through some different uses here. Salt has so many uses. One, it could be used for cleaning, polishing. You could use it when you're trying to remove certain things from whatever you use to make coffee, okay? Salt could be used because it's kind of abrasive to just polish things and clean things up. It's also an exfoliant. It also has medical uses for certain topical skin problems like eczema. Lots of different uses for medical reasons, okay? Salt has been historically used for probably forever for food preservation. You can store and start the curing process for different types of meat. Very important, especially if you don't have refrigeration, especially in survival scenarios, emergency scenarios. You want to be able to preserve your animal fats and proteins. Salt is going to help you with that. For that, I recommend something like a higher volume as far as affordability type of a salt. Something like this, okay? Now you'll notice this is iodized. I think it's good to have some iodized salt because your body does need iodine, or in that case, iodide, okay? Very important for your thyroid to produce thyroxine, I believe, to regulate your metabolism. The thyroid also has other uses, other functions rather, in the body. So it's important to have iodine. I will tell you that form of iodine is probably garbage. It's much better to get your iodine from sea kelp, seaweed, and different sea vegetables, different seafood, much better. You can also get a little bit in eggs, I believe. So like chicken eggs. So it's very important to make sure you get your iodine in your body. A lot of people have a lot of health issues, and the problem is their health issue or issues comes from not getting enough iodine, okay, iodide into their system. So salt can help you with that. I don't recommend the iodized salt, but it's good to have for emergency scenarios if you don't have access to kelp, seaweed, sea vegetables, seafood, chicken eggs, whatever, okay? So it's good to have as a backup. It's also good to have that stuff because it's cheaper, like that Morton salt, very cheap. And when it comes to preserving food, you can do it dry, you can dry rub it, or you could actually create kind of like a brine, just a salt brine or an aqueous solution of just water and salt, and you could preserve food that way. So food preservation. Remember, salt is so important. It's been used in history as a form of currency. As a matter of fact, I think the word salary has roots. The root word for salary is salt, because they would actually pay people in salt or barter, okay? Salt is something, speaking of barter, salt is something that no matter what happens in the world, people are going to want and need, okay? So it has value, and it will continue to have value. As long as your salt is stored without water, it's gonna last probably indefinitely, okay? So this is something you want to stockpile. I'm talking lots and lots of it, high volume. And as far as the more expensive stuff for your health, besides food preservation, okay, aside from food preservation, is you want to stockpile this stuff. Pink salt has, I believe, 80-something minerals and trace minerals. This Celtic salt, sea salt, this stuff has, I believe, 92 or more of the minerals and trace minerals your bodies need to be healthy, okay, and well. Here's another salt. Jumping around a little bit here, but I'm going to cover a lot of stuff, and I'm just going for it. Redmond salt, okay? This stuff is delicious. So is that Celtic sea salt. They just don't compare as far as flavor compared to other salts. Your average table salt that you find places is garbage as far as flavor and health. Overly processed, and they have additives and stuff maybe, so it's just garbage. This stuff is really pure, and it's delicious and nutritious. Redmond's real salt, they actually sell this, I believe, for livestock in bulk. So your animals need it. That's why they have mineral licks, salt licks for animals, because they're going to need the electrolytes like we do, the minerals and the trace minerals. So if you raise livestock, you want to make sure you keep this stuff on hand. You can buy it in bulk, probably 5-gallon buckets or larger for your livestock. Very, very important, especially if you're trying to be more self-sufficient, and especially in survival scenarios, okay? You want this stuff. I recommend the 2 top recommendations, I think, for salt are Redmond's real salt and Celtic sea salt. This stuff is great, great. Now, talking about flavor, cooking. Salt, if you're not cooking with salt, in my opinion, you're not really cooking, okay? Salt amplifies and concentrates flavor. Now, it's important because we want delicious food. When food is delicious, you're less likely to get what I call food fatigue. In survival scenarios, a lot of people think they're going to survive off rice and beans and dehydrated freeze-dried foods or whatever. That's going to get old real quick, and you're going to be looking for some flavor. So there's a lot to be said about morale. When you're disguising repetition, I talked about that in my previous videos. You're taking all different ingredients and you're using them in different ways to create different types of meals that you're going to enjoy. That's very important, and salt is going to make them enjoyable. When food is enjoyable, you eat more. It's important to make sure you're reaching your caloric intake that you need, especially in survival scenarios, because you're arguably going to be more active than ever trying to survive, producing your own food, water procurement, whatever. So you want to make sure you have delicious food. And do not underestimate what delicious food can do for morale in survival scenarios. Okay? really create delicious meals by adding even just a little bit of salt. Really is going to make a big difference, folks. Big difference, folks. And some foods that are not really palatable, that you might really not want to eat, but it's all you've got, like maybe organ meats, for example. You might not like beef liver, you might not like brains of certain animals or whatever. Add some salt and it's going to make it more palatable, more enjoyable, so you're more likely to eat it and survive, and also get the nutrients that your body needs. Like beef liver, for example, has copper. Your body needs that. Very important to have that zinc copper balance, okay? Now, as far as other uses for salt, you could use it as a weed killer if you're trying to do some landscaping or gardening, but I actually don't recommend that. I recommend putting down some cardboard or just smothering the weeds. Salt is okay in small amounts and maybe even beneficial when it comes to topsoil, when it comes to gardening and growing, but it's actually really, really bad, okay, in certain amounts. So you want to make sure you're staying away from that and using other, arguably easier and better ways of smothering out your weeds. In a survival scenario, having some dandelions, which people call weeds, they're actually beneficial. Weeds are just any unwanted plant, by the way. So I posted videos about this discussing weeds. Please watch them. I do not recommend using salt for that, but you can do that. Let's say you're trying to really just clean up the perimeter of your home, right around the outside of your home, and you want to put some of that down as a quick way, easy way to kill some weeds. You could do that. You could also use vinegar in high concentrations, high percentage vinegar, strong vinegar, to do the same thing. Now, as far as medical uses, do your research. Salt has a lot of medical uses. I mentioned topically before. Now remember, your skin is an organ, okay? It surrounds your whole body, all right? When you are not clean, you might use, in a survival scenario, some salt on your body just to exfoliate and really open up your pores so that your sebaceous glands can release those natural oils and lubricate your skin and provide the oils you need to produce vitamin D from the sun. You could achieve that by using just a dry rub of some salt and just a little bit of water. So that will also lower the amounts of water needed for hygiene, okay? Sores in the mouth and stuff like that, if you're sick, as a gargle and as a rinse, very important. Salt is great for those things, all right? So you want to stockpile massive amounts of salt. Going back to bartering, being that it always has value, this is something in a survival scenario that's as good as money, okay, in a functioning society. All right, we have fiat currency, which is garbage, but you can trade your salt for water, for food, for tools, freedom seeds, actual seeds like for plants, okay? Lots of different things. It's arguably just as important or more important than carrying certain vices, which I don't recommend using as far as yourselves, but tobacco, alcohol, certain things are going to have high barter value, especially in rough times, okay? Especially in rough times. So if you're not picking up salt, you need to do that, folks. I'm going to use the word need, okay? And the way to do it is just like I recommend in other videos. If you buy one for your everyday or weekly or monthly use, your ongoing use, pick up a second one. A few dollars at a time goes a long way, and it rather help you get ahead and start building up that stockpile without spending a whole bunch of money at once. Most of us are hardworking people. Most of us don't have lots and lots of money to buy pallets, okay, worth of salt. So you do it a little bit at a time, you stick with it, and you pick up different types of salt. Now, some of you might be thinking, why did I not mention pink salt or Himalayan pink salt? Well, I forgot to mention it, but besides that, it's not as good as the Redmond salt and as the Celtic sea salt. It's a better option than your average table salt that you'd find at like restaurants, for example, but it's not the best option. It's not the best option. And even some of that stuff could be overly processed and have questionable things you might not want in them. However, some salt is better than no salt. So pick that up as well. Find different uses. Sure, you could use it as an ice melt. There's another use for it. What I recommend, instead of using salt, okay, as an ice melt, is using wood ash. I've got the wood stove behind me, produces lots of wood ash for us. It's all natural, and it works really, really well as an ice and a snow melt. The wood ash is going to benefit our soil. So if it washes around our property, goes down our driveway, ends up on our grass or on our soil, I'm not concerned with that. Actually, it's probably going to be beneficial. If you're using salt, like actual salt that you consume, that's better than a lot of ice melt. Ice melt is garbage. It has toxins and poisons, and you're just, when you ruin your property, folks, you could hurt your family, you could hurt yourselves, because if that property is going to be used for food production, you could hurt your family, you could hurt yourselves. Even if you're not using that part of your property for food production, these things travel. They're taken up by plants. Plants get blown around. Wind is like the great mixer of the world, okay? Animals eat them. They have their manure, okay? And you're spreading this stuff around. You don't want toxins spreading across your property, because you might have your garden, your growing containers, your in-ground growing, your garden beds, whatever, where you think far away enough from other toxins like ice melt and stuff like that on your property, but it can get there. It can get there because water spreads it out. The rain is going to spread that out. It's going to go into your soil, go down and reach your underground water, which is not good. It's not good for the environment, therefore not good for people in general, and also not good for animals in general. So be responsible, pick better options, all right? All natural is always the go, always the way to go. It's always the way to go, folks. You're never gonna find toxins is like a better way to go. And if it is, there's a trade-off. You're using toxins, they might work, but you're getting negative effects as well. All right, I hope this was useful to you. I hope I provoked some thought, and I hope I covered some different ideas of things you might not have thought of. But stockpile some salt. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're doing. You should be subscribed already. Come on, connect to us. Subscribe. Hit the bell icon so we will release future videos. I want you to be aware. I want you to know those videos are coming out so you can watch. Please like. Get involved in the comments below. What's your favorite salt? Do you stockpile salt? Maybe you don't, but now you're going to. Let me know. When you comment, it helps our channel grow. It costs nothing to subscribe, costs nothing to hit the bell icon, costs nothing to like, it costs nothing to comment, but it helps out our family. If you want to do something nice, that's for free. Please do those things. It really means a lot to us. Okay, take care, everybody. Stockpile your salt. Be well.